An upstate correctional officer is now the one behind bars after admitting to an inappropriate.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? This your boy X, Coach Dean. About to get this all set up, and then we're gonna get it cracking on some Madden or probably play something else too. But what's up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Hope y'all day wasn't as long as mine was, but we here. So I'm gonna do my thing real quick. Watch some videos, talk about it, and then while that's happening, do some franchise in the background while I do what I do. Lost to Kansas City in the wild card round. Let's see what happens. Let's see who makes it to the Super Bowl. To the Super Bowl. But yeah, let's get it cracking. Let's go. Cops who forgot there were cameras in the police station. Let's get it.
Relationship with an inmate. 28-year-old Zalika Santiago is charged with 2 counts of first-degree misconduct with an inmate.
In some shocking cases, officers who should have been setting an example ended up breaking the law themselves. One officer was filmed inappropriately engaging with an inmate, while another sent explicit images to underage prisoners.
27-year-old Caitlin Gomez wrote inappropriate letters to a 16-year-old inmate. Investigators say 10 letters were found in the boy's bed.
These incidents show how some law enforcement officers became too comfortable, forgetting they were under constant surveillance. Let's take a closer look at some of the more unbelievable moments when these officers' actions were captured on camera and led to major consequences for their careers. These are the cops who forgot there were cameras in the police station. Number 9. Tina Gonzalez and her forbidden affair. Tina Gonzalez, just 26 years old, began her career as a correctional officer at Fresno County Jail in California. Ambitious and driven, she quickly gained respect among her colleagues. However, beneath her professional demeanor, Tina was hiding a secret that would eventually unravel her career. In 2020, she struck up a relationship with an inmate who was serving time for multiple offenses. The inmate, a charismatic man, quickly won Tina over with his charm. What started as friendly conversations soon turned into something much more dangerous and illicit. They began a secret relationship, engaging in intimate encounters while inside the jail. Despite the risk to her career, Tina seemed to disregard the consequences. Over time, the inmate manipulated her into smuggling contraband into the jail. It started with small items like snacks and cigarettes, but soon escalated to more dangerous contraband, including cell phones and drugs. The smuggling operation became increasingly bold, with Tina slipping prohibited items into the facility under the guise of her duties. She was able to bypass security with the assistance of certain methods, including concealing contraband in hidden pockets of her uniform or even in areas not typically searched.
Thank you.
Tina's disregard for prison protocols and her willingness to break the rules indicated how deeply she had become involved in the illicit operation. As time went on, she became more brazen. Tina began engaging in sexual acts with the inmate in front of others, potentially to assert control over the situation, or as a result of manipulation by the inmate. She had also been caught on surveillance cameras participating in these acts, though the full extent of the scandal wasn't uncovered until a whistleblower stepped forward. An anonymous tip soon reached the jail authorities, describing the affair and the smuggling operation. The tip-off included details that Tina had been altering her uniform, making it easier for the inmate to access her, and that she had become deeply entangled in illegal activity within the prison walls. An investigation was launched, revealing disturbing details about Tina's actions, including her continuous smuggling of more dangerous items into the jail. Authorities uncovered that she had provided inmates with more than just basic contraband. She had actively facilitated the delivery of cell phones, which are often used to continue criminal operations from behind bars. These actions raised alarms about security within the facility and the vulnerability of the jail system to corruption. The inmate, who had been in control of the relationship, exploited Tina's position for personal gain and facilitated illegal activities within the jail. Tina eventually confessed to the affair and her involvement in smuggling illegal items. In June 2021, she was sentenced to 2 years and 7 months in prison for sexual misconduct, smuggling contraband, and conspiracy to distribute prohibited goods. The incident sent shockwaves through the Fresno County Jail, prompting a review of their security protocols and staff monitoring systems. The case highlighted the dangers of unchecked power and the vulnerabilities that exist when those entrusted with upholding the law abuse their authority. It also underscored the importance of thorough background checks, ongoing surveillance, and proper training for correctional officers to prevent such breaches from happening again. Number 8. Rachel Wilson's scandalous encounter. Rachel Wilson, a new officer at HMP Addywell, a private prison in Scotland, found herself at the center of a scandal just months after starting her job. Hired in the spring and still in her probationary period, Rachel made a fateful decision that would end her career. Kevin Hogg, an inmate serving a traffic offense sentence, was the man involved in the incident that gained national attention. Known within the prison for his boldness, Hogg filmed a clandestine encounter with Rachel that would soon go viral. The video, lasting just 79 seconds, was filmed inside Hogg's prison cell. It shows him setting up a mobile phone to capture the moment before Rachel arrives. After a brief exchange of whispers, the two engage in a passionate kiss, which Hogg later comments on in a chilling remark saying, "That's what I wanted." The video quickly spread throughout the prison and beyond, reaching other facilities, including Barlinnie in Glasgow. Hogg shared the footage to brag to fellow inmates, ensuring that it didn't remain a private moment. As rumors swirled about the encounter, one theory suggested that Rachel had been blackmailed by Hogg, but insiders at Addywell Prison confirmed this was not the case. According to sources, Rachel had the option to signal for help at any moment, but chose not to. This suggested she was a willing participant in the kiss, leading many to question her judgment and professionalism. Reports later revealed that Rachel had already been warned by her superiors about maintaining appropriate boundaries with inmates, but ignored these warnings. In fact, some former colleagues claimed that Rachel had previously engaged in flirtatious behavior with inmates, which added to the belief that the incident was not an isolated lapse in judgment. The video's exposure led to widespread outrage, with many questioning how such a breach of security could happen. Investigators noted that the use of mobile phones, which are banned in prisons, had become a common tool for inmates to orchestrate such schemes, with Hogg using the phone not only to record, but to ensure the footage spread. It was discovered that Hogg had smuggled the mobile phone into the prison through illicit channels, which raised serious concerns about the prison's ability to monitor and control contraband. As the video spread, it didn't take long for the prison to release a statement confirming Rachel Wilson's departure from her role. In the statement, the prison acknowledged that Rachel's actions violated prison rules and professional conduct standards, and her dismissal was inevitable. The scandal prompted an internal review of security protocols, especially regarding staff-inmate interactions and the smuggling of contraband. It also sparked discussions about the importance of regular training for prison officers on maintaining appropriate professional boundaries with inmates, with experts arguing that a failure to properly address these issues can lead to serious breaches of security and integrity within the facility. The incident also raised concerns about the psychological and emotional vulnerability of young officers in high-pressure environments, where manipulative inmates may exploit their weaknesses. The fallout from Rachel's actions not only affected her career, but also raised broader questions about the oversight and accountability of staff within private prisons, where the pressure to maintain good public relations and avoid scandals can sometimes lead to compromised oversight. Number 7. Nikesha Newell's fall from grace. Nikesha Newell's career as a corrections officer at Butler County Jail in Ohio began in 2017. Known for her dedication and professionalism, she quickly became a trusted member of the team. However, beneath the surface, things were far from what they appeared. Nikesha's life took a dramatic turn when she became involved with an inmate. This inmate, whose identity has been kept private, quickly earned Nikesha's trust, and before long their relationship crossed professional boundaries. What began as an innocent interaction turned into an illicit affair. The relationship escalated quickly, leading to a sexual encounter within the confines of the jail. This was no fleeting moment as their relationship continued to grow, with Nikesha using her position to arrange these private meetings. The inmate, fully aware of the risks, continued to manipulate Nikesha to his advantage. As their bond deepened, Nikesha started taking dangerous risks. She began smuggling contraband into the jail, including a cell phone and electronic cigarettes. These items weren't just for personal use. The phone allowed the inmate to maintain contact with others, possibly coordinating illegal activities both inside and outside the facility. As Nikesha's illegal activities continued, her actions didn't go unnoticed. Other inmates and staff began to suspect something was off, and soon, an observant sergeant provided a tip that launched an internal investigation. The investigation uncovered the full scope of Nikesha's actions. The contraband items were discovered, and the nature of her relationship with the inmate came to light. Nikesha's actions rocked Butler County Jail, and the consequences were severe. She was fired from her position, arrested, and charged with sexual battery and smuggling a communications device into the facility. After pleading guilty, Nikesha was sentenced to 2 years in prison, bringing an end to her promising career. Number 6. Emery Waller and her dangerous affair. Emery Waller, a corrections officer with the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, began her career in January 2019 at the Adobe Mountain School in Phoenix. At just 25 years old, she was responsible for overseeing young offenders. However, her career took a sharp turn when she became involved with an 18-year-old parolee who had recently been released from the school. This inmate's identity remains protected due to legal concerns, but the story of Waller's misconduct is anything but confidential. The relationship between Waller and the former inmate began to unfold when a fellow corrections officer discovered explicit Snapchat messages between the two. These messages left no doubt about the nature of their relationship, which was both illegal and unethical. Arizona law prohibits anyone employed by the Department of Juvenile Corrections from engaging in any sexual activity with offenders under their supervision, aiming to protect vulnerable individuals from exploitation. The investigation into their relationship revealed far more than just these disturbing messages. As the probe continued, it was discovered that the affair had been ongoing for several months. On January 9th, investigators spoke with the former inmate, who admitted to having sexual intercourse with Waller. Further investigation led to a parole search of the inmate's room, where even more explicit evidence was uncovered, including nude photos and videos of Waller. Investigators also examined Waller's phone, uncovering multiple explicit pictures and videos of both her and the former inmate. As the investigation progressed, Waller attempted to downplay the relationship, but the overwhelming evidence told a different story. In an effort to cover up her actions, Waller tried to tamper with the evidence by using an Apple Watch to contact her roommate. She instructed the roommate to reach out to the former inmate and tell him to deny everything and delete the evidence. This attempt to obstruct justice was discovered quickly, adding to the seriousness of her situation. Waller's actions, both illegal and deceitful, led to additional charges for tampering with evidence. Eventually, Waller admitted to the relationship. She confirmed that she had engaged in inappropriate conduct with the former inmate. The legal proceedings that followed were swift. Waller was arrested on charges of unlawful sexual conduct, conveying contraband in a juvenile facility, and tampering with physical evidence. Her career in law enforcement ended in disgrace, and the case served as a stark reminder of the consequences of abusing power and trust. Time for the fancy topic. In a shocking turn of events, several police officers from a local precinct have found themselves at the center of a growing scandal after they were caught on surveillance cameras engaging in highly inappropriate behavior with a sex worker. The incident, which occurred inside the police station's secure holding area, was captured by cameras that the officers believed were turned off. According to sources, the officers involved, who have yet to be publicly identified, arranged for the sex worker to be brought to the station under the false assumption that no one would be able to monitor their actions. They believed that the cameras in the area had been malfunctioning, but they were unaware that the footage was still being recorded and transmitted to an undisclosed security office. What followed was a series of highly inappropriate interactions, which, though never physical in nature, were nonetheless a gross violation of their professional and ethical duties. The footage, which has since been leaked to the media, shows the officers conversing with the woman while they stand in a police holding room. At one point, it's clear that the officers are making inappropriate gestures and comments, all of which were captured by the still functioning cameras. In one unsettling moment, an officer can be seen with his hand placed too close to the woman's body, while another speaks in a suggestive manner. Authorities were quick to investigate once the footage was brought to light, and an internal inquiry has been launched into the matter. The officers involved have been placed on administrative leave while their actions are thoroughly reviewed. Given the serious nature of the incident, which undermines public trust in law enforcement, the department has vowed to take swift and appropriate disciplinary actions, including potential termination. The story has sent shockwaves through the community, and many are demanding justice for the violation of trust that these officers have inflicted upon both the public and the department. Critics have called for increased monitoring of law enforcement personnel to ensure that such incidents do not happen again in the future. While the officers' actions were undoubtedly a mistake, the damage done to their reputations and to the reputation of the police department is substantial. Their careers are now on the line, and the scandal is likely to impact their future prospects in law enforcement, as well as the department's ability to restore its public image. How many more incidents like this are going on under the radar? Could this scandal be a sign that police departments need more oversight to ensure officers are held accountable? Let us know in the comments with the hashtag #FancyTopic. Number 5. Gemma Cooperthwaite's betrayal of trust. Gemma Cooperthwaite was once regarded as a model correctional officer at the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office. Known for her professionalism and hard work, she gained the respect of both colleagues and superiors. However, this all changed in July 2014 when she became involved with a young inmate who had a criminal history, including 9 felony convictions. Despite his past, Gemma found herself drawn to him, and what began as simple conversations quickly turned into something far more personal. Gemma shared her personal contact information with the inmate, a decision that violated strict codes of conduct. The inmate began calling her regularly, asking for favors. Gemma believed she was helping someone in need by driving him to work and allowing him to use her house to shower during breaks. However, what Gemma considered acts of kindness, the law viewed as a severe abuse of power. It is impossible for inmates to consent to relationships with guards, as such dynamics are inherently exploitative. The relationship between Gemma and the inmate soon took a darker turn. The inmate accused her of sexual assault, although Gemma vehemently denied the claims. However, an internal investigation was launched on April 18, 2015. Following reports of the inappropriate relationship. During this investigation, Gemma was placed on administrative leave and eventually fired from her position. The inmate testified that their relationship had involved sexual activity at Gemma's home during her work release. Gemma's defense claimed she was being manipulated by the inmate, while the prosecution argued that she had abused her authority. In April 2015, Gemma was arrested and charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct. To avoid a lengthy sentence, she took a plea deal, admitting guilt to sexual assault with intent to commit penetration. On July 6, 2015, Gemma was sentenced to 10 months in jail, with 4 months suspended and required to pay fines and court costs. Additionally, she was placed on the sex offender registry for life. While incarcerated, Gemma continued to assert that she had been manipulated, calling the relationship her greatest mistake. Number 4. Caitlin Gomez's forbidden affair. The story of Sergeant Caitlin Gomez took a shocking turn at the Pinellas Regional Juvenile Detention Center. During routine checks, staff discovered 10 letters hidden under the bed of a 16-year-old inmate. These letters, written by Gomez, detailed a sexual relationship between the two. The letters were explicit, describing what would happen during their first sexual encounter and revealing an ongoing affair. This discovery launched a criminal investigation by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. As investigators reviewed the letters, they found that Gomez had crossed a line that should never be crossed. Along with the letters, they discovered a photo of Gomez in the inmate's cell, further solidifying the evidence of the inappropriate relationship. Gomez had started as a sergeant on January 5, 2024, and within just a few weeks, she was in charge of a pod that included the 16-year-old inmate. Despite being warned not to be alone with the juveniles, Gomez was seen with the inmate on multiple occasions, which raised suspicions among her colleagues. When questioned, Gomez confessed to writing the letters and admitted to developing a sexual relationship with the inmate. She explained that she fantasized about being with him and even planned a future together once he was released. These admissions were deeply disturbing. As a result, Gomez was immediately fired from her job and arrested on charges of solicitation of a child to engage in sexual battery by a person in a position of authority. She was booked into jail, where she remains while the investigation continues. Number 3. Zuleika Santiago's secret life. Zuleika Santiago started her career in law enforcement with the South Carolina Department of Corrections in her mid-20s. She was a promising correctional officer at the Union County Detention Center, where she worked to maintain security for inmates awaiting trial. Her career began with much promise, and she quickly earned the respect of her peers for her professionalism and dedication to her duties. But beneath this facade, Santiago was hiding a dangerous secret. She was engaged in a sexual relationship with one of the inmates. Santiago's illicit affair was initially undetected, but rumors began circulating about her suspiciously close interactions with one inmate. Her colleagues grew concerned, noticing that her behavior with this particular inmate was becoming too personal. These concerns led to an internal investigation. Surveillance footage was reviewed, and staff interviews were conducted to gather more information about Santiago's conduct. The investigation revealed several troubling interactions between Santiago and the inmate. She was seen entering the inmate's cell repeatedly and spending long periods of time alone with him. Additionally, there were reports of inappropriate conversations and physical contact. When confronted, Santiago admitted to the affair and confessed to having intercourse with the inmate on multiple occasions. The South Carolina Department of Corrections responded swiftly. Santiago was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree sexual misconduct with an inmate. She was immediately terminated from her position, bringing an abrupt end to her career. Santiago's actions were a serious violation of professional ethics and legal standards, and she now faces the full consequences of her betrayal of trust. Number 2. Jordan Trainer's scandalous behavior. Jordan Trainer's career as a prison officer at the Weatherby Young Offenders Institution in West Yorkshire took a dramatic turn when she became involved in an illicit relationship with one of the 17-year-old inmates. At the time, Trainer was married, but she quickly became involved in a flirtatious relationship with the inmate. What started as light flirtation escalated into a scandalous affair that would bring her career to an end. Trainer was aware that the inmate had access to a mobile phone, and she began sending him sexually suggestive messages. This soon progressed into more explicit actions. Trainer took sexually charged photos of herself and, in a bold move, printed copies at work, giving them to the inmate. But the affair didn't stop there. Trainer also smuggled several phones into the institution for the inmate and, at his request, for other inmates as well. Her misconduct didn't end with one inmate. Trainer became involved with a second 17-year-old inmate in a similar manner. She sent him explicit messages and photos, and their relationship progressed to the point where the inmate touched her inappropriately on multiple occasions. Trainer failed to report the incidents and even manipulated colleagues into swapping shifts so she could spend more time with the inmates. Word of her actions eventually spread throughout the institution, and on December 23, 2019, both inmates' cells were searched. Authorities found evidence of Trainer's actions, including her personal phone number and explicit photographs. When Trainer arrived for work, she was suspended. In an attempt to contact the second inmate, she sent a message saying, "I'll not see you again now, I've been suspended." After being arrested and interviewed on January 25, 2020, Trainer admitted her actions and pleaded guilty to misconduct in a public office. She claimed the first inmate had blackmailed her, but the prosecution dismissed this as an excuse, stating she could have reported the issue at any time. Trainer admitted she enjoyed the attention from the first inmate. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison, marking the end of her law enforcement career. Number 1. Kiwana Jenkins' forbidden affair. A routine shakedown at the Fulton County Jail was meant to be just another day of securing the facility, but it quickly turned into something much more shocking. Officers, as part of their standard procedure, were inspecting the inmate cells for contraband. It was an ordinary check, but they found something far from expected: a contraband cell phone. These devices are strictly prohibited in jails, as they pose serious security risks by allowing inmates to communicate outside of the facility and plan illegal activities. What made this discovery even more unsettling was what the officers found on the phone. Hidden within its contents was a sexually explicit video. In the footage, Kiwana Jenkins, a 36-year-old detention officer, was seen in a compromising position with an inmate. The video depicted Jenkins sitting in her uniform inside a facility office. A man's finger appeared near her mouth, and Jenkins was filmed engaging in a sexual act with him before the video abruptly ended. This discovery set off a series of events that would alter Jenkins' life forever. A full investigation was launched by the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and it wasn't long before the inmate in the video was identified. Using visible tattoos as clues, officers traced the man's identity, uncovering a deeper connection between him and Jenkins. It became clear that the two were involved in some sort of ongoing relationship. Jenkins had even been gifting the inmate expensive items, such as a pair of Cartier glasses. This relationship was far from a one-off incident. It was a regular affair that crossed several lines. Sheriff Pat Labonte took swift action, addressing the public in a press conference where he stressed the importance of ethical conduct and accountability. He emphasized that Jenkins' actions did not reflect the values of the sheriff's office or the integrity of its officers. Jenkins was promptly fired, arrested, and faced a range of serious charges. These included improper sexual contact, cruelty to inmates, and other offenses stemming from her unethical and illegal actions. Do you think these cops should face even harsher punishment? Let us know in the comments below. See you next time.
Okay, just sit tight, bud. I'm gonna safety lock those, and then you and I are gonna talk for a second. You know why we're here?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, well, we did find the body.
This is Peter and Elvira Allman, a married couple last seen in this CCTV footage walking back to their home before they disappeared. 24 hours later, the same couple were found, beaten, dead, and hidden inside a U-Haul truck. With no clue how this gruesome double homicide happened, detectives are left to piece together the puzzle and find the killer.
You murdered your parents. And he said, actually, yeah.
I said, what are we talking about? He says, I got 2 bodies. I said, 3 bodies. He says, I killed my parents.
So he says that he was going to Milwaukee.
His plan is to head in the direction of Milwaukee and then turn around and go back south. That way you guys think he's going north.
Be advised, we do have a caller on the line. He said that Max is standing on the backside of his house.
This was the home of 64-year-old Peter Allman, his 56-year-old wife Elvira, and their 37-year-old son, Maxim. Peter and Elvira were close to retiring, and were starting to look forward to enjoy a relaxed life during their twilight years. But on November 30th, 2021, something strange would happen. Peter wouldn't show up for work. Peter had always been on time and never missed a day without letting someone know. So his co-workers quickly grew worried. Within hours, they would try calling his wife, Elvira, to check on him, but when she failed to answer as well, their concern grew to the point where they contacted the police. The very same day, officers would be dispatched to the family's house for a welfare check, but when they knocked on the door, no one would answer. Worried for their health, police would break into the home only to discover an even bigger mystery. Everyone was gone. It was as if the entire family had vanished. Inside the house, officers found no signs of a struggle. The rooms were tidy and nothing immediately pointed to foul play, except for one particular detail. A white, powdery substance was scattered in all of the rooms. While strange, it wasn't enough to offer any clear answers. This discovery would escalate this from a missing persons case to a murder investigation. Detectives quickly reached out to the neighbors in the area, hoping to gather information about the family's routines, or whether anyone had heard about them, planning to leave for a trip, and that's when they'd find something interesting. One of the neighbors had a CCTV camera pointed at the approximate direction of Peter's house, and a recording from earlier that morning would reveal something disturbing. 3 unidentified men were seen carrying a large wooden box and a freezer out of the Allman home and into a U-Haul truck parked outside sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. This discovery raised more questions than answers. Who were these people? And what are they moving at 3 in the morning? The U-Haul truck quickly became the center of the investigation. Finding it was crucial. Everything hinged on locating that truck. Over the following hours, detectives began checking all U-Haul facilities in the area, hoping to find a model matching the one on the CCTV. Police would use cadaver dogs, specially trained canines able to smell and identify dead human bodies to check the trucks they were searching. And on the next day, December 1st, one U-Haul truck parked outside of one of these facilities would alert one of their dogs. This alone was enough for a search warrant, and officers now had full access to break and enter into the U-Haul. Upon opening the truck, the detectives would make a gruesome discovery. 2 bodies, both brutally beaten. Peter was found inside the wooden box, and Elvira inside the freezer. However, one person was still missing. Their 37-year-old son, Maxim Parnov. With 2 dead parents, their son missing, and an empty house, all officers could do was ask neighbors who might have interacted with Peter or Elvira in their final days. And after getting contacted by one of the neighbors over the phone, they'd get a lead that would blow the case wide open.
So yeah, you know, I get it, you're shaking. What did he tell you it happened?
He said they passed. They passed, and I'm like, wait, what does this mean? He said that they've been fighting and arguing, and he was talking to Pete, but like he called him a liar. Pete responded with, you know, get the hell out of here, you know, and he didn't describe what happened. He said it's really unfortunate, but like what happened is they passed. He didn't give me any of the details about what happened. Something about a fire extinguisher, I think, but I didn't really understand him much.
Piecing together the statement from this individual, it is apparent that some sort of argument happened between Maxim and his parents before their disappearance. But what detectives hear next would set off a manhunt to trace Maxim down before he could slip away from their grasp.
I completely understand. So he says that he was going to Milwaukee?
His plan is to head in the direction of Milwaukee, to stop at like gas stations or whatever, buy prepaid debit cards for like $1,000 each, and then turn around and go back south. That way you guys think he's going north.
Okay, and how is he going to get those prepaid debit cards?
He's running the dead dad's card.
Okay.
There's the checkbook and the dead dad's card.
The checkbook and the dead dad's card, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he left maybe probably 10 minutes ago now?
10 to 15.
Immediately, every single officer and department, not only in Algonquin, but all surrounding states, was notified. And the hunt for Maxim, who clearly wanted to run off with the money, was on. After 24 hours into the manhunt, at 5:45 a.m. on December 2nd, officers had a lead. By approaching AT&T, Maxim's cell phone provider, officers were able to get an approximation of his location. This was done by using cell tower triangulation, a technique in which a phone's connection to surrounding cell towers is used to pin a suspect's location. However, this comes with its inaccuracies. In Maxim's case, officers had a 223-meter radius to search, but this entire radius was cut down to just one home with just one phone call that officers receive.
166, be advised, we do have a caller on the line that says that they are Maximum's friend. His name is Andy Helzer. He said that he is outside the window on the back side of the house. I'm getting a confirmation on the address that Andy is telling us he's at.
10-4. He says he's with Max?
He said that Max is standing on the back side of his house.
With this information, cops need to be incredibly careful as they approach Maxim. The slightest mistake right now could mean that he becomes aware of their presence and attempts to flee. If he's armed, this could quickly go from a chase to a deadly gunfight.
It's hot.
The advice of the south says exactly 223 meters.
Right there. Come on. Hands out of your pockets. Come out to this open area. Do you have any weapons on you? What's your name? Okay. Go ahead, turn around, face away from me. You got lethal cover. No. 90-degree offset. Right there. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back. Come on, relax. Nothing's gonna happen to you if you don't do anything to me.
I know. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not.
Max would refuse to say anything, so they take him to the station. Unfortunately, this meant that there were still too many unanswered questions after his arrest. Officers do not know what happened that led to Elvira and Peter's murder, and most importantly, why he would ever want to kill his own parents. But this didn't mean an end to the leads that police could gather, because soon enough, anonymous witnesses came out on their own accord in order to tell their sides of the story. The first witness was one of Maxim's neighbors, who claimed to have an audio recording of Maxim from November 29th, just a day before Peter and Elvira's disappearance.
You previously told me that on your cell phone you have a recording of what happened on the 29th. Whose voices are we going to hear?
You'll hear my voice, Raymondo's voice, and Max's voice.
All right, why don't we go ahead and play what you have there on your phone.
Before listening to this audio, keep in mind the fact that Maxim had a well-known reputation in his neighborhood for doing anything to earn money. After all, he was an immigrant from Russia, and there were very few jobs he could work, which is why this audio would reveal one of his shady sources of income.
Okay, look. I'm gonna just go.
What the fuck do you think? Like, you think I came here to fucking tell you a fucking story? Here's the fucking, look it up. Here's a $5,000 watch. It's a $7,800 watch. Where the fuck would I get this from? I got there, man.
From working?
I'm trying to get help of a friend because I can't lift something by myself, okay? And I need to do it just like, that's it.
Lord, I did not.
And if I try to do it myself, it's like, I'm gonna, and I need someone to help me. And then also driving the car and dropping it off, it's like, I need someone to help me follow with another car, and then wherever we're going to figure it out, into a fucking lake. I know you don't understand, and you might think I'm like, whatever. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It's
help
like,
us help you.
Right.
So, like, speak for yourself. I can only take so much information at once.
Right, okay.
Because, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's a heavy load to drop on somebody.
It is. You got to process.
Heavy load.
Yep.
Heavy load.
It is.
As far as,
I'll give you both the watches.
I know.
That's $1,200. That's $12,000. And pawned by someone else, go through somebody else's name or whatever, it's $12,000. I'll give you 3 watches, that's $17,000.
Throughout the course of the officer's investigation, it was never clarified where Maxim got his hands on expensive watches like the 3 he mentions here. Even the men he is trying to sell to sound suspicious of where exactly these were obtained from and don't budge easily. This is why Maxim becomes increasingly aggressive. In fact, his cathartic behavior only takes a turn for the worse from here on out as he begins to randomly talk about his mother, Elvira.
So here's the thing, I've been living this for my whole entire life with her. And she killed my dad. She's the reason why my dad died.
Although Elvira was Maxim's biological mom, Peter was his stepdad. Maxim's real father committed suicide early on in Max's life, something that he is clearly blaming his mother for. Not for the first time, and certainly not for the last.
And then dropping me on the head when I was a baby, she did that on purpose. Poisoning my dog, she did that on purpose. Nonchalantly with an emotion, like when I try to apologize and try to love her, and she like threatens to call the cops on me, which would initially like get me sent off to jail for years and years and possibly deported, and I told her that. Like, no remorse, just like, and it's like, why are you with me? I'm trying to do good. Like, I know I smoke or whatever, but it's like, no, dude, like, I just got this new job shit that I've been, like, I'm gonna be ex-golf fucking bar manager going up to be general manager. And they've been doing this to me like, oh, we'll help you out. No, I don't have any money. And blaming me and shit like, you mother, like, you fucking piece of shit, you're 36 years old, and it's like, dude, I'm fucking dealing with health and mental issues, and I've like just got on medication, new ones, and it's like all this is like coming to a new life, and it's like, and they this just culminated to that. And here's the thing, I'm being God honest. I'm not trying to spin this. Like, I'm out there telling the truth.
Piecing together Maxim's mental breakdown, officers were able to get a rough understanding of his situation. Maxim was a man going through a midlife crisis because of financial issues. To make things worse, he held extreme suspicions against his parents, constantly believing that they had it out for him and his dogs. This was only fueled by their refusal to give him money whenever he needed it. But this only scratched the surface of the true severity of the issues he was facing. It would only be after an interview with Rebecca, one of Elvira's friends, that officers realized that Maxim was far more mentally disturbed than they imagined.
When did you first meet Maxim?
I met Max, I don't think I actually met him last year. He would come and go during COVID.
Yeah, I don't think you ever actually
His mom would drive and go pick him up where he lived, somewhere in a north suburb of Chicago. She would go and pick him up, and he'd spend Sundays here sometimes at their house in the yard. He has 2 pit bull dogs, so we would always see him out with his pit bull dogs.
About the dogs.
He would say that his mom, but that they were just always kind of getting on him about, needing to figure out what he was going to do in his life, because he's 36 years old, and he would tell him, well, he's in between jobs, he's trying to figure it out. He would talk a lot about I think he's been on medication recently for anxiety. We really connected with things with anxiety, and I don't think he had PTSD, but he never really told me his diagnosis, but he felt like the whole time he's lived here, he was like in a fog, never really. He said he would stay up all night long, he didn't sleep, and then he'd sleep during the day sometimes, and that really bothered his mom. He said that he didn't seem to be doing anything, and he just kept saying, well, he kept trying to explain to them he was in between jobs and trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He said he was bullied a lot as a kid. I know that was a conversation we had recently, that he was picked on a lot in school.
Did he say what for? Okay.
He did not. He's talking about, he always wanted